Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here at Bohemian Arts. I'm Sean Barnett, Artistic Director of Bohemian Arts, and welcome to our reunion special extravaganza, fantastic time-a-thon here at Bohemian Arts. Um, Today we are talking about a special production that we did back in 2019. We did Temecula Presents' his first student-led theater internship production, that's a mouthful to say, of the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And if you're wondering, dear viewer at home, why are they talking about a show that closed a year ago that was by a company that they are not? It's because that this show is kind of was the birthing ground of what Bohemian Arts has become today. It kind of showed us that we can do this. We can put on a show. And I think we're pretty competent in what we do. So yeah, so we're just kind of gonna reflect back on the magical times when the earth wasn't burning down of March / like January through March of 2019. And yeah, it's gonna be a little blast from the past. So to get started here, I was thinking just with our wonderful cast of the show, we could just go around and just say our name and what we did in the show. So we'll start with Emily, and then just she can popcorn it to someone.
Hello, I am Emily Nightingale, and I played Olive Ostrovsky. And I'm gonna popcorn it over to Moana, who's to my right.
I'm Moana Poyer, and I played Rona Lisa Peretti. I'm going to popcorn it over to Ava.
Hello, my name is Ava Sarnowski. I played Marcy Park, and this is my brother, Chris.
I played Mitch Mahoney.
So, yep. Alrighty, who should we pass it to?
Let's give it to Scotty.
Hello. Hello. My name is Scotty Herrera. I played William Barfay, and I'm a popcorn it down on Mr. Jack Schwenk. Oh, sorry.
I am Jack Schwenk, and I played Leaf Coney Bear, and I'm gonna pass it to Drew.
I am Drew Robinson, and I played Douglas Panch.
Hi.
I'm gonna pick Helena.
I was Logan Schwartz and Grubenier.
Yay. So I'm just gonna start off with something super simple that wasn't on the sheet that I gave you guys. Just how you guys doing, just in terms of the current times here in 2020 of the earth burning down?
Yeah, like Jack.
I love the mass amount of silence. Yeah.
Yeah, busy. Just been working and in school, for me at least.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
noticed a lot of
kinda-
we were just talking earlier, a lot of you are off bougie at college. All that you guys left us behind in Temecula. Scotty. Oh, and Moana. I forget that Moana is not here anymore sometimes.
Yeah, there's like a pandemic going on, but I'm too busy being a rich Boston socialite.
Yeah,
So
you're off a fancy writer out
in
there.
Boston and also a socialite.
Yeah. All right. Well, just to kind of start off easy back in the beginning, how did everyone first kind of become aware of our production that we were putting on? I know it was kind of low key for a bit at the beginning because we were kind of trying to find a way to get this off the ground, which I mean, we eventually got to by collaborating with the city of Temecula. I'm gonna give it over first to Helena.
So I was trying to think, and I honestly think it was just kind of floating around through our friends of like, maybe they're gonna do spelling bee. I've always wanted to do spelling bee. But I really can't remember like the exact moment of when I first heard about it.
All right, how about let's do Jack?
I also think it was from when you guys partnered with the city because my dad was all involved with that. So I heard it from him originally, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do that yet. And then you guys reached out to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be cool. Because then I like looked at the script or whatever, and I'm like, Oh.
Yeah, let me just preface this with when we thought about the idea of casting Jack and we wanted to like take him in for an audition, I specifically wanted so badly the possibility of him playing Jesus, because spoiler alert, Jesus Christ does appear in this show for a little point in the show. And in the original script and the original production, Leaf, the character that Jack eventually played, Jesus was not played by the actor playing Leaf in the original production. But I said, no, we need tiny Jesus, damn it. So with that tangent in hand, let's give it over to Moana.
I think it was pretty much the same as Helena, because I think that you at least, well, I remember like it floating around the friends group, but then I think you sent out like an announcement to like the different group chats that we had already had for like previous shows, and then just ones that we had, and you were like, hey, we're doing this. And then I remember seeing Scotty's spelling bee that he did, and I was like, wait, that's actually a really funny and cool show. So yeah.
Yeah, Sarnowski's.
Oh, alrighty. How did we learn about it?
I learned of it because my mom said they were looking for Mitch Mahoney, and I was like, why not give it a shot?
Yeah, I heard it like your mom told my mom told us to audition, and it was wonderful. It was cool, and I wasn't familiar with the show, so it was like brand new. So it was really exciting.
Emily?
Yeah, I think I just received the same sort of like texts that you were like sending out to the different group chats. And then obviously when I was like at school with like Helena or Moana or Drew, and we would like talk about it. And once we knew like who was gonna kind of go and like try out, it was like, oh, this will be fun. It's just like us friends doing whatever. So it became like a really easy, like, yeah, we're doing it.
Let's do Drew and then Scotty.
I had actually never done like any community shows before Spelling Bee. So I had just heard about it through kind of the grapevine, like everyone, like through Emily and Helena and everyone. And then, but if I remember, it was like so last minute, like I didn't hear about it until like probably like the day before or something. So I just made that decision so quick, but I'm really glad that I did. It was such an amazing experience.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did Spelling Bee with Sean up at Moonlight Youth. And then from there, Sean told me about that they were doing Spelling Bee again the following year, and he asked me to go out for Barfay. And I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. Sounds like a fun time. And yeah, and then once I found out that like Emily and everyone else was auditioning, I was like, yeah, I'm there. So
yeah, I directed the show, by the way, dear viewer out there. I probably should clarify that in advance. Yeah, I'm not just some guy that came to see the show. It's like, hey, let me have you guys in my thing here at my random company that I just started. Yeah. Actually, I would like to ask, you guys kind of talked about it in your answers, but just raise your hand. How many people knew what about this show and like what it was about when they came into audition? Okay. Okay, it was a lot more. Yeah, Scotty and I did Spelling Bee at Moonlight Youth Theater, and I played Leaf Coney Bear. And just to kind of explain kind of the origin of how this production came to be, that production at Moonlight Youth, at least at the time of us doing it, I don't know if you could comment on any of this, Scotty, but it just had this energy of just like raw like playtime was happening. Just like this group of friends was just like gathering around and just like being absolute like dorks on stage, and it was just the most giddy experience I've ever had on stage. And so I kind of wanted to bring that to Temecula, and knew I had like the group of friends that I knew could make this show like as killer as I think it ended up being. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with MYT Spelling Bee, it really just became like a family, like a very much just collaborative group of people just creating something that and like having fun and doing like whatever we wanted and just pushing like each other to the extreme just to be weirder and like neurotic.
Yeah.
And yeah, very much so that's how it felt doing it in Temecula. It very much felt like it was a family, a collective of people, a group of like friends just coming together. And putting on a show.
Right. And I had never done any experience with improv before, so I don't know how it was similar to how, an improv rehearsal is held, or just how an improv show is handled. But it was a big like learning experience for me in terms of coming at, this big, humongous comedy. And it was kind of even more intimidating coming at it as a director, because not only was it my first time directing a show, but it was this show that I adored and kind of wanted to, honor both in its original creation and in the, experience that I had, wanted to bring the same energy and feel to this show, especially in the smaller space and theater that we were in compared to this other production and to many other productions that I've seen. Yeah. So next question is, what was the audition process like for you guys? Because in our podcast episode that we made about this between myself and my sister Jillian, who music directed and choreographed the show, we kind of explained sort of what was going through our heads and what the audition process was like for us. But what was it like for you guys? I actually haven't heard much of this, so I'm very intrigued to see. Let's start with little Jackie there.
For me personally, I thought that it was actually really good. Even though I wasn't able to like I was only able to go to callbacks because I got notified of it so late. Because normally for auditions, I'm like scared because everybody's like just looking at you and they're like, are you a good pick? But for this one, I was more excited since it was more laid back, but still there was like pressure to still succeed. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Let's give it to Sarnowski's.
Yeah, I think it was similar for us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we also did come back for callbacks. Although time is it's really very far away, but yeah, it was a very brief process, but it was very efficient, and I felt like really excited for the outcome, and it was very organized, and it was just fun. It was very fun because normally with like audition processes, you're like very nervous for what's to come, but in truth it was just really fun because we knew everyone. And
Helena.
I feel the same way, that it was just very fun. It still was exciting like any other audition process, but because we were all so close, it just felt like safe. Even auditioning for the same part as somebody else, it didn't feel uber competitive. It just felt like, I don't know, safe and warm and fun, and 10 out of 10. I liked it.
Emily.
Yeah, I think I don't remember exactly, like it was a while ago, so I don't remember exactly, but I think we all just like kind of auditioned together, a few of us. Like I think I auditioned with Helena, and I think Moana was there too, and I think Drew was there, and Scotty, were you there in the same like audition room with us at the same time?
No, I was by myself.
Okay, yeah, because I thought there was like a group of us who like all went together and like went at the same time, and so it made it so like quick and fun and easy and like just exciting because we all like kind of knew the show, and it was just fun being there with everyone, and like we knew you guys, we knew you and Jillian, and it was just fun. Like it wasn't like high pressure, high stakes or anything. It was just like we're just going and doing whatever, and it was fun.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make the audition process kind of that laid back and easy, and it was very much easy for us to be in that mindset because, believe it or not, most of you, with the exception of Drew, because I hadn't met you yet at the time, and Preston, because I had never seen Preston perform ever, so I was very impressed seeing him come in. But you guys were pretty much our first picks for everything. So when we saw that all of you were auditioning, we were like, yes, like we're able to get everyone. Hopefully, like we'll be able to cast them in these roles that they'd be absolutely fire in. So let's toss it to Moana, and then we'll give it to Drew and then Scotty. Your microphone's off, Moana.
I remember not really being that nervous because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really see myself as any characters in the show. So I was just kind of like, I was definitely going back and forth about whether to audition at all. So I decided my song to audition with, like the day of. But luckily I had auditioned for like the last 4 shows with that song, Monster from Frozen. I'm sure no one's heard me sing it. But it was a really good experience because it was like a good mixture of like personable, because we all like knew each other, and it was like the Barnetts behind the table, but also professional because it's the Barnetts behind the table. So it was a really good experience.
Yeah, Moana was our first audition, literally like our first audition of the whole process. And like as people on the creative team. So we just like went, whoa. There are people in this valley, man. So anyways, Drew?
Going into this audition, I was really nervous just because, like I said, I'd never done any community shows before. And what else was I going to say about that? Yeah, I was nervous going into that. And then, but being with Emily and Moana and Helena made it so much better. And then meeting you guys and everything, it was just so warm and welcoming, and it made it really easy. And then just overall, that whole audition, it was one of the coolest auditions I've ever gotten to do.
And Scotty?
Yeah, my audition, I just came in and Sean gave me the sides and they're like, okay, sing Magic Foot, and I did it. And they're like, just go for it. Just literally, I was gonna say blank to the wall is it. And so that's what I did. It was like 5 minutes. I was in and out, and then yeah, very nice and concise.
Yeah. So next question is, and just to kind of speak for the one cast member who isn't here, Preston Torrey, who played Chip Tolentino in our production, he was the very last person that we ended up casting in our show. We actually had everyone else casted in the show before we had him come audition to be part of the show. And because he was out of town when we were thinking about having him come in to audition, and I think it was Moana that recommended him to us, because we were looking for a while after the show was already cast of like who's gonna be our Chip, and that was like kind of the wall we were hitting for like a good like week or two there after the show was cast. We're like, oh my god, who's gonna play Chip? We're missing a whole actor. And Moana just like kind of sent me, or I think Moana, you told him about the audition, right? Right. Yeah, and then he messaged me saying, is there any way I could audition for this role? And he sent us 2 videos of him singing My Unfortunate Distraction and him doing the sides, which, I mean, you guys know he is incredibly hilarious. I love that guy. And he was just a great addition to our cast. So that kind of leads me into my next thing. This is kind of a 2-in-1 question, but when did you find out that you were cast in the show, and like how did you feel about being cast in our show? Let's
Question
toss
from
it.
the depths of my mind.
Let's toss it first to Scotty there.
I feel like I found out like relatively short after my callback. I feel like it was pretty like on the day of. And how did I feel? I felt very excited. I was very excited to meet you all and to do it with you all. Not do it, but to do the show. Okay. And yeah, I was just excited to revisit Barfay because it was like a year. I like did a bunch of different other productions. I had grown as a performer, new venue, new people, like new ideas. Like I was very excited.
Let's give it first or next to Moana.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember where I was or when I got it, but I was really excited to do it because I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to play a character like the one that I played. And so I was really excited to like have that challenge. I mean, I would love to do it again and fix it, but I was really excited to get the opportunity to do it in the first place.
Since you guys know time so well, I'm also gonna please add what you were eating and where you were when you found out. Yes, I'm sure you all know. First, Jack.
I'm pretty sure although I don't remember a lot, but I'm pretty sure I was at school and my mom like emailed me or called me and I had to like run to the bathroom. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, you got in. And I'm like, wait, really? And then honestly, I was super excited because it was my first time ever being like in a lead role other than elementary school. So yeah, I was excited for what was gonna happen.
Let's give it to Helena.
Just a side note, just hearing you say other than elementary school, I always forget how young you are. That's so funny. I don't remember where I was, but I felt like at the callback, just looking around and hearing everybody perform, we just kind of knew, like, I don't know, we knew who would be pretty good in what specific part, but I don't remember exactly where I was when I got the call.
How about Drew?
I found out actually I was doing something that our high school participated in called Battle of the Hands, which is like an ASL competition thing where you like perform skits and songs and stuff. And I was actually recruited by Emily's group to do like a really small thing for them. And so we were like back in the dressing rooms and I got the call from you that I got the part and I was so ecstatic, like, because I was with everyone too. I was with Emily and a bunch of friends. So it was really exciting. And then I remember one like pretty random thing that I was really excited about for the show was the fact that we were performing in the Merc, because like there's not a lot of shows that you can do in there. Like it's very specific. And I thought it was a really like unique opportunity to get to perform a whole show in there.
Yeah, like they had done shows in the Merc before, but we were kind of like, I think I can only think of like 2 other productions that had been done in the Merc before. I know Fine Arts Network had done some sort of Shakespeare play, and then Next to Normal was there a few years before, and Spring Awakening. So we were kind of one of the first few shows that kind of, you know, reconfigured the vibe that the Merc, you know, conventionally was and still is. So I was very excited to do that. When I knew that I wanted to do this show, I was like, it has to be in the Merc. And might I add, I came up with the idea that I wanted to do this production in the Merc the day after we closed the show at Moonlight Youth Theater. Like I literally got home, like kind of gathered my thoughts about the production that I just went through and the production of the same show that I was going to do. And then I pitched it to my mom, who was a part of the Old Town Temecula Theater staff, like the next morning. So let me give it to Emily.
Yeah, I completely forgot that we were at Battle of the Hands. I'm so glad you said that, Drew, because I remember I didn't have service in the dressing rooms where we were. And so everyone was like getting different calls and I was like getting all these like late messages and we were all like, what's going on? Like we were like freaking out because we had no service at all. And then it was just a really fun night altogether because our group ended up winning Battle of the Hands. So we're like double score, like I was so excited. It was a fun day. So
yeah, I believe I think I called Scotty and I called Emily like the night of callbacks. Like I called them like within like an hour or an hour and a half of the callbacks happening because I was like, yeah, we got him. With Emily specifically, we knew Scotty like was most likely going to be our William Barfay because I mean, who else better? He's literally the master at this character. But Emily walked in and just like brought in just this sheer innocence and this overall vibe to the character that completely blew me away and honestly like had me kind of like wanting to cry a bit, like, you know, like I was just so proud and just like it left me even more excited to do the show than I did coming in.
not to mention the tension between me and Scotty and our characters, just like chemistry between us is just like,
yeah, you guys didn't get along at all. You two didn't get along.
Literally, when Sean was telling me that he was thinking about like I talked to Emily that she was thinking about doing it, and when Sean was like, yeah, I think Emily's gonna do it, I was like, oh, I'm there. I am an Emily Nightingale stan to the day I die. So literally, like that was the motivation I needed, and I was like, for you, girl, I will do it.
Yes. Did we get everyone with that question, first of all? Sarnaskis? No? All right.
Left us
How
out,
about
man.
you?
I can't remember where we were specifically when we heard the news. Well, me specifically. What about you?
I have
What
no
were you
idea.
eating?
I don't know why I have this distant memory that tells me I was eating In-N-Out at the time, or we were going through the drive-through and we got the cast list. And I was like, "Yay, we did it! We're in!" And it was really exciting. And also because it wasn't a show that I had done before, so I was always excited to try something new and to meet new people and not new. You know what I mean? Just like partake in a show with really talented individuals, and it was just exciting.
Yeah, and it was very exciting at the time after the show was already cast, because with the exception of Drew and Preston T, I knew all you guys and I was friends with all of you guys, and I was very excited for the sort of community of that we were bringing together, and just kind of the easygoing sense of play that we had during the whole process, because it didn't really feel like a general, rehearsal process that you go to when you're in like a normal production. At least for me, it didn't. It may have been different for me because I was directing the show, but you guys just got along in this way that was just like, I could see like the family starting to form like as we were going through, and it was just so heartwarming. And I would go home every day with Jillian and Danielle, and we would be like, oh my God, these kids totally hate each other. They are not getting along at all. They totally hate each other. So that leads me to my next point. So kind of as we went through the rehearsal process, we were a completely or mostly student-led production with myself directing and with Jill, who I think was around, had just turned 19 or 20 at the time, or this was actually a year ago, so she was like 21. And then Sam Camacho, who was our ASM, our assistant stage manager. So I kind of just wanted to get y'all's point of view on, the differences between working on this show as a student-led production compared to, other shows you've been a part of. Let's start with Mr. Drew Robinson.
Before this show, I had only ever done like after school rehearsals, like in the performing arts center and stuff at our high school. So getting to actually like have that experience of going in on your free time and like going to a place to rehearse and everything, it was really cool. It was a really like something I needed to experience, I think, as an actor to like grow.
All right, and Scotty?
Yeah, I've done lots of shows, from old people directing to young people directing. And even like at TV, like in my high school, there was always a difference between doing a show where it was directed by like our theater department head teacher and then also our student directed shows. And I just feel like there's a life and like a joy that's so much more evident in like a student directed or like someone who's your peer already rather than someone who's like your upper looking down on you. And I feel like Spelling Bee had that life because it was another like young director, like student director that was a peer and that wanted to work with you and like actually give you an experience as like a performer, especially with the show that Spelling Bee is. Like it's so much like you're just sitting there like for the whole show. So it's very much like on you and what you want to create. And okay, sorry, there was just a really loud bang outside my window, but it's alive. It's just so much more fresh and fun and easier to like sink your teeth into.
Yeah. Let's give it to Moana. And I choose to do it at the most inconvenient time as she is drinking water.
Well, before the show, I had done one student directed show like at our high school, and they were both comedies, so they were both like very lighthearted and like fun and energies and environment. But it was nice that this one compared to at least the other shows that I've done, like aside from the student production. Like it was, I mean, kind of like I said about the audition, it was just a nice mix of like that lighthearted environment, but also professional. Not that my other student directed one wasn't professional, but this one was professional, like more professional. So it was like it was cool to experience like I don't like kind of both from what I had experienced from my other shows that were like adult led, and that one that was student led that was a little less professional, and we kind of just like goofed off the whole time. It was like it was cool to have this show, which was like a nice mix.
Right. Mr. Jack Attack.
Yeah, my ideas were basically what Scotty and Moana both said too. I liked that it was you are an actor, right? So you know more about what's actually going on behind the scenes, and like you know what it's like from the actor's point of view. But you still have the standards of like an actual director. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, how about let's do Sarnowski's.
Alrighty. Should I start?
Yeah, you start.
Okay. Well, I've been doing numerous shows with much more larger casts that have all been under like adult directors, and what I really enjoyed about the way our project went was that it felt like the atmosphere was very intimate, and that everybody was getting devoted attention, and like it felt like a much more collaborative effort. It didn't feel distant in a way, you know? And I genuinely adored that about the student production. It was very lovely. It was very lovely.
Yeah, it kind of we kind of didn't keep you guys in the dark about like what was going on behind the scenes. Not, not saying that things were going chaotic back there, but like any sort of production, especially working with members of your family, like what we were doing, we had our moments where we had our disagreements throughout the process. But I think that made like a way better show, because I mean, like, why are you collaborating if you can't fight with your partners and then work together to make for a common goal and make a piece like this? I think Moana, did you raise your hand there for a second?
I did. I just wanted to add one small tidbit. I just wanted to say that it didn't feel like what I thought a student-led production would feel like. I mean, it kind of goes back to that professionalism thing, but it definitely just had like kind of the same flow that all the other shows I've done had, and it didn't feel like it was any less of a show because it was student-led. Like it felt just as up there.
Right. Let's pass it to, I think we have Helena and Emily left, so let's do Helena.
So I kind of along what Ava was saying is it felt very collaborative. I've done one student, I guess, did I do it already at that point? Who knows? But I've only done one other student directed production, and that the director of that show, the director and assistant director, were both already in sort of positions of power within the theater department. So we kind of had a clear sense of our relationship to them, and that they were in charge, and let's just stand back and let them do it. But with this, because we've all, or most of us, have already worked with Sean as an actor, I didn't know how we were gonna adjust to you being like top dog. So but it definitely felt like a group effort, especially choreography. If there wasn't something like we all just like didn't like it, we could all work together to kind of reach a common goal.
Yeah. Let's bring it around to Emily there.
I think everyone summed it up pretty well. I had a similar experience. I've done a lot of different student-led productions and professionally, well, not I mean like adult-led professional productions, and also like everything in between. And so it was really collaborative and like welcoming, but some like really stayed professional at the same time, which was really nice. It was a great experience. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've really, as a director, I wanted to keep a huge sense of transparency with you guys and kind of let you guys be a part of this sort of creation of this piece, and didn't really want to be like the guy telling you guys, stand there, do this, stand there, do that. All right, we're done. Like what Helena was saying, there were a couple times where people raise their hands and be like, can we do something else? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, show me it. And then they would show me, and then if it was good, which a lot of those ideas were, we kept them in, and it really made a better show in the process. So, and I really couldn't thank you guys enough for that. And especially, you guys are just such geniuses as actors, and as sort of, in this case, mini comedians in a way. Yeah. So kind of going off of that, were there any like specific stories or specific, parts of the production process that you were kind of highlights for you throughout the process? Any specific thing that happened, or just a part of it, or just a part of working on the show that was particularly special to you? We'll start with Scotty since he's raising his hand.
Yay. I really loved after the shows that we would all go like get food like at Taco Bell or something like that. Was time that I like really cherished, and I look back and I'm like, oh, like that was so much fun. Like it was just so like the show was fun, but it really, the highlight for me was just being with everyone and just like having a laugh. Like the show is so carefree and so just like you, I don't know, my goal was to make everyone on stage like break. Like that was my personal goal, is like I wanted you to like laugh at me. And so I don't know, just hanging out with everyone, and just it was just fun. It was just fun. It was fun. End of sentence.
The reason I wasn't invited, Scotty?
Girl, you were like 6 years old.
And let's go to Jack. I'm sure he's got things to say now. He's got some fighting words.
For me, it was anytime I was like baby Jesus. And the best part of that was when I said French, French, French. That was the absolute best part of any of it.
Yeah, there's a part in the show where Jesus, as played by Jack, just to give a little context to the show is a musical comedy about a group of elementary schoolers, as portrayed by a group of teenagers in our production, competing in a regional spelling bee, and hilarity ensues. There's audience participation where 4 members of the audience are chosen to come up on stage and spell every night, which I'm sure was so much fun for everyone. Yeah, and so in this moment where Jesus appears, it's when one of the characters, that's played by Ava, Marcy Park, is the premise for the premise for the scene is that she is given a word, and then she says, Jesus, could you have come up with a harder word? And then as soon as that happens, you hear a voiceover of Jesus saying, of course you can, my child. And then Jack walks down the staircase in a giant beard and wig, and he then speaks an entire sentence in French. And Jack, I'm sure it was amazing to have to learn French. You learned the entire language just for that one line, I'm sure.
I'm now completely fluent.
Yes. And I think Ava, didn't you have to teach him that phrase? Or I feel like someone here had to like.
No, but let me just say, those scenes were the absolute hardest to get through for me, particularly. My character, she's so devoted to like maintaining a blank expression the entire time.
Very serious.
I don't want to take up too much time because it's not my place to speak of right now, but like it was so hard to like just not smile during the entire thing. It was so funny.
Yeah, there were multiple times throughout the process, or just throughout rehearsals, where I have to tell Ava, please stop laughing. Like if any of the other characters were like laughing or had to break, I could give them a little bit of leeway on that. But for Marcy specifically, because her character is sort of in a way, the top dog of the competition in terms of just her overall demeanor. And she's just like willing to take everyone down no matter the cost. So we just really wanted to like keep that serious, like tonal, I'm no one's friend F off all of you. And so there were many times where I had to tell Ava to stop laughing, no smiling. And it eventually got to the point where she would just not move.
I don't remember that.
Like, you guys would be always sitting at the bleachers, and I'd be watching her. And I think I did this on the DVD too, like when we all first watched it together, just like counted how many minutes it was until she like moved her head for the first time. Yeah, let's bring it to the Sarnowskis here.
Well, I mean,
This is highlighted moments
for rehearsal. Yeah.
for rehearsal. Well, at the
Or
very
just throughout the entire process, you know, of doing the show.
the very end was we were talking at the very end of the last show, and everybody found out I was 14 instead of 18 or 19.
And wait, everyone didn't know how old you were until the last show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you look so much older than me despite me being 19. It's
You're
ridiculous.
19, I'm
He
15.
towers over me like a giant.
You're
and
15? I'm gonna be 14 soon. What?
Yeah,
How?
Jack was like a child and when we did the show. And like, let's get out of the way, he's one of the most mature like middle schoolers I've ever seen or worked with ever. So I mean, like, finding out that he's like 13, like what he said, like turning 14 very soon, I'm like, are you sure? Have you checked your birth certificate? You know, yeah. Ava, did you answer there?
Oh, well, for me, like, I just enjoy the rehearsal process a lot. I mean, like, more often than not, sometimes rehearsals are like really tiresome and like over the course of the night, like, you know how sometimes shows are just like that. But with this one, it was just a blast the entire way through, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, let's toss it down to Helena.
So I think my favorite moment was in between the last, I think, was that closing night? We had 2 shows on closing, I think. I don't know. I'm gonna say it. But
Yeah, we had 2 shows on closing.
yeah, I just know we had like a cast party before a show, and we were playing some charades game, and we were like screaming at each other. Do you? Because Emily had the word zebra, and she went like this, which is a gesture, and she cheated, and we were screaming, and we all blew out our voices, and it was a mess, but it was really fun.
And the good thing is that closing performance, the show you did right after screaming at each other, is the recorded version of the show, which I mean was an amazing performance, and it felt like a rock concert. So I mean, props to you guys. I also remember during that cast party, we were playing some sort of game, and I don't remember what the rules of the game were playing. I just remember what Preston T yelled out during the game. I think it was like Helena had a card, and we like had to guess like who she was describing, and then Preston just kept yelling, "Yeah, Liza Minnelli, Liza Minnelli."
He was right, though.
He was right, but like all I could say through the entirety of closing night was just Liza Minnelli. How about Moana?
My favorite memories were probably the relationships that I had made, and just like, or not already made, but like, I don't know, just like I feel like they like either like strengthened or like changed in some aspect. And I definitely enjoyed working with I take that back. I was gonna say a reason why, but then I realized that reason was false. But like I loved sitting there with Drew, because I feel like Drew and I had never like been in a show where we had to interact really with another, and then in the show like we only interacted with each other for the most part, which was really fun. So I was happy I got to sit there. And then my favorite onstage highlight was probably, I think it was the second week of shows, and I was singing favorite moment of the bee, is that what it's called? And just for like the last 2 minutes of the song, I just sounded like a deflating tire. Nothing came out. Not a thing. So that was a highlight. I don't think I'll forget that. Those are mine. Yep.
And let's give it to Mr. Jack Attack.
Wait, didn't I already answer? Or was this a new question? I thought I already said French.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
How about
Way to be a good listener, Sean.
Yes, I know. I know, I should just leave. Scotty, do you want to take this interview? All right.
Actually, I can do it. So
I get kicked out of the room, even though I'm the host of the meeting. How about Drew? Have you answered yet?
My favorite memory, I thought Moana was about to steal it. She got real close there, but she didn't. Was during some of the shows in the middle of scenes when Moana would lean over to me and it looked like we were pantomiming, but she would be whispering the most random sentences in my ear and it would make me literally like, I don't even know how I could try and hold it together with like the things she was saying. It was one of my favorite things ever. I love it.
To be fair, most of them were in the context of the show.
I'll give that to you. Yeah, I'll give that to you. They were.
My favorite Drew memories, just of Drew overall, is during one tech rehearsal. Actually, I'll save this for the next question because I have a story about Drew. That's just my favorite thing he's ever done. Emily.
I think one of my favorite like moments building up to the show and throughout the rehearsal process was like establishing like little interactions that all of us would have on stage with each other at different points in the show. So like at like any point I would like turn around and like lock eyes with Helena and Helena would be like picking her nose and be like and like do something toward me. I'd be like trying not to break character. Or Scotty sat in the same row as me, so I could never look over at him because he would just instantly like do something to try and make me laugh. I feel like I had a different like weird quirky thing that happened with a different character all the time, and it just progressively got worse and worse to the point where it was so hard to stay in character, but it was the best. I absolutely loved it. It was really
And as we know, the point of any comedy is to get someone to break.
Yeah.
Is just to completely break the illusion of the show. Helena, yeah?
Before we move on, I just remembered, I'm so sorry. I had a bit where I don't remember what I was holding, but I kept I think it was my number, and I kept wanting to put it in my mouth. And me and Moana were like, okay, I'm gonna look over at you. I'm gonna try to put it in my mouth, and can you like look at me? Like, don't do that. But we never actually worked out when we were gonna do it. So for half the show, I just kept going like, like waiting for her to yell at me. And I don't know why we never coordinated it. But,
Actually, I want to ask before we move on, since you guys have already kind of tapped in on that. So in the show, you know, pretty much the stage is divided into three sort of what I called camps throughout the show. So we have our spellers who are sitting on these little bleacher bench things that consisted of like Scotty, Emily, Helena, Ava, Jack, and Preston T, as well as our 4 audience volunteers every night. And then we had a stool that Preston S there, or Mitch Mahoney, was on next to the juice boxes and the trophy. And then we had the infamous Moana and Drew over there on a desk sitting next to each other. So let me just ask, like, how was that just like being stuck together basically for the entire like hour and 45-minute duration of that show? Anyone who wants to answer first?
I'll go for this one. I remember during like the first show, I think it was, Moana and I walked on stage and we sat down, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like the tablecloth or something, like we could not move our legs. Like this table was like not allowing it. Like we were just too close. And so her and I were literally like stuck in this tiny little space right next to each other. But honestly, like it made it even better because we had that close interaction.
Yeah, I know like a lot of time was spent just like getting that table like comfortable enough, because you guys were sitting like behind you guys was the giant piano in the Merc that we couldn't move. So like trying to like we had to put the table just right to where you guys could like sit down comfortably the entire like hour and 45-minute hour of like time of the show. Yeah. Emily? Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't even think it really had to do with where we were on stage, like in retrospect to the amount of space we had, but like just how close we were to the audience at times. Because obviously, since the space was so small, and we're like especially during like Pandemonium, like the crazy song, we're all like kicking and like throwing stuff. Like I felt like we were physically assaulting the audience just slightly, like almost like we could have gotten like restraining orders put against us if they really wanted to. Like we were that close, but it made it so much more fun because I felt like I was like really like up in their face.
I feel like there were moments where I like saw Scotty almost kick someone in the face, or like during Magic Foot. Like throughout the process of the show, throughout the rehearsal process, we thought that the audience section of the space was going to be like tables, because that's how the Merc is set up originally. There are like little tables that fit like 4 chairs a piece. And we were told the day of the show, like the day of opening night, that the tables were going out and that we had to reconfigure the space. And we were like, okay. And so we spent the entire day of opening night just putting together all of those seats. They came of the house. And yeah, and I remember we had to like restage a bit of Magic Foot, because we had a bit where Scotty like put his foot up on a table and like assaulted the people in the front row there. Yeah. Are there any like specific audience volunteer interactions that you guys remember?
I have some.
Yes, Scotty?
I would, like, for the first part of the show, when all the spellers would be there, whoever would be next to me, or I don't remember what side it was, but I would always be like, there was one line where I would like just be like in their face. And this one lady, like, she like was looking the other way, and I like was right on the other side of her, and I said my line, and she like jumped, and I don't know, I just thought of like messing with the audience members was so much fun. And especially when, like, before they would spell, I would be like, you suck. Like, I would literally just be like, you're gonna lose. Like, I'm literally going to win. And and they'd be like, well, you don't know that. I'm a good speller. And I'm like, girl, I spell with my foot. Like, try me. Like, I'm a good speller. Okay. And so the best ones were just the ones that would, like, try, like, I don't know, I'd be messing with them and they would try to mess with me back. And I'm like, you don't know what's good. This is my world, girl. Like, I'm the main character. It's my world and you're just living in it. Like, come on.
And actually, spoilers, Scotty did end up winning the bee. So I mean, like, like what he said technically wasn't wrong.
I told them, they just didn't believe me.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other audience interaction stories before we move on? Yeah, Helena? And then we'll do Helena and then we'll do Moana.
I'm trying to think. I know the one hardest thing was during Pandemonium. We had to like, because we really wanted to use those like horses that are, you know, the horse heads that are on sticks. We really wanted to use them. So I don't even remember how this happened, but we had to like move the audience volunteer like all the way around the stage to get back to where they were to ride the horse. And one lady was just not having it. She just didn't feel like following me around. And I just remember in that moment like panicking, just like not knowing what to do. But that entire scene for audience interactions was so funny. Just watching everybody like not really knowing what's going on. It was so fun.
Yeah, that's kind of like the joy of the audience participation bit of the show, is just like the people that don't know what's about to ensue. Because like you have people that go on stage that are going up like blind, but like kind of expecting based off of what they've seen of the show in the past, like, you know, first 9 minutes or so of what they're probably going to go through. And then there are the people who walk on stage literally knowing nothing and just are completely distraught by what happens to them throughout the course of that first act. Yeah, and Moana, do you have a story there?
It's not really a story. It was just, well, I mean, it kind of is, but like how me and Drew had to make up certain things to say about or to the audience volunteers, like when they would go up, and so I always struggled with, because I remember this specifically the last night. I think it was the last night because your friend was there. She was in Spelling Bee with you guys. I think she was blonde.
Shout out to Maddie Edwards.
Maddie
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes, and I just always walk that line of like, what would they find funny and what would they find offensive if I said? Because, and I remember writing on my paper to Drew, I was like, can I say this? Should I say this? And he didn't see what I was writing. He would like look over and he would be like, and I was like, and then he would look over, he'd like, And I'm like, what are you saying? And so I chose not to go with that one. I think it had to do with Girl Scout cookies.
It was such a good one. It was such a good one too.
I didn't see it, and I was like, no. So I think that was probably like my favorite, like just getting to interact with the audience was like choosing what to say about them based off of their appearance and the 2 seconds that I've seen them.
Another one of my favorite parts was the name mispronunciations that would come. Like when we would have friends that came, like we had some friends that came to see the show that like became audience members that were just that we just like let all hell break loose on. Like we have a friend, we shout out to Mr. Lucas Oyos Haynes, who came in, and this thing made me cackle. Moana said Mr. Oreos Hanes, because his last name's like notoriously very confusing, just and very long. And so I was just in the back row, just like dying, having a time. Like that was one of my favorite lines, even though it's not scripted at all. Just one of my favorite lines said throughout the entire production of the show. So good on you, Moana.
To add on to that with like weird or like the audience members when they had to spell, who like it was one of the last shows. Wait, was it the Sarnowskis, like your cousins? And and they were spelling. I don't remember what they did. I just
it was like cow, and they were like TWFNAG, and everyone's like, yes. Everyone's like, yes, that's it.
that
was fun having to like restructure the entire first act because they didn't understand it, and like we love them to death.
And then we walked out for like intermission or whatever, and we're all like, "You suck! Why would you get that wrong, you idiots!"
Oh my gosh! But yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, there would be like specific shows that like pretty much the entire first act would have to be like restructured because of how audience members would behave. But I mean, like that's like the fun part about the show, at least I think so. Just like the amount of leeway that you have to have, you know, as actors on stage, having to work with these people who don't know what they're about to watch or go through, which just was really fun as me watching in the house to watch. So props to everyone for being just hilarious people. So to kind of move on from that, so in our podcast episode that Jill and I recorded, we kind of went a little more in depth on what like the last few days of our rehearsal process was like, because if you guys remember, that was like, if you had a heart monitor on me throughout that entire like last week or so, like it was probably at like over 130 or like 200, like my blood boiling because I was so nervous about going into it, because you know, as a first time director and just as a director in general, you know, these shows and these casts, you know, they kind of become your babies. At least to me, having directed 2 shows at this point, you know, they kind of become in a way like your children, and you just like don't want to mess it up so badly, especially being your first time, especially being the show that I loved and wanted to do right by so badly. So that process was stressful, but I mean, we got a lot done and I was very proud of how it turned out. So, I mean, is there any specific stories, any specific, you know, what we're going through you guys' heads as we kind of made our way towards the goal of opening the show, sort of like starting from like our last run through in the studio and then going into tech? We'll start with whoever wants to answer first. Preston the man.
Yep. Last rehearsal, dress and tech rehearsal, I got sick really bad. I couldn't sing or anything. My throat was just destroyed. It was just, nothing was coming out. I couldn't speak at all. It was terrible.
Yeah, all right. We had to have like a little like understudy rehearsal where it was possibly that I would be having to go on as Mitch, which I mean, like after that, I feel like I went into like another state of being, just like completely blacked out and had no idea what was happening anymore.
Sean as Mitch, like that is not your character at all. So it would have been so funny if that had happened. Like I don't know how I would have reacted, but I'm glad that Preston, like that he did it. He was a trooper.
Yes, and we love that Preston made it through like the entire first weekend. I think we had 4 shows, and one of them we had to do 2 shows in one day. So I mean, like I was just so impressed with how Preston handled that, because I mean, if I was sick and doing that, I'd be calling out like 2 days before the show happened if I was like not feeling that well. But I mean, great job for you, Preston. You did an amazing job in that role. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any? Helena?
So it's not even like a huge thing. I just remember me and Jack, and I know me and Jack actually, I think Ava might have been out there too. I don't know. There was a group of us that had to wait out, like physically outside the building to go in for our first entrance. Yeah. And there was only one time when the door just like didn't want to open. And from that moment on, we were so terrified that like what are we gonna do if it doesn't let us in? But I think that was probably the only big thing that like made me really nervous. Other than that, we kind of like got it together.
One thing that I would like to say is that on our first day of like actual teching the show, but like I think there was like some sort of sickness going around, and I think we had Jack, we had Helena, we had Ava, and Moana. I think were our only cast members that learned. Everyone else was sick or like had a conflict on that day. And so that day kind of wasn't that big of a deal, because it was more for, since we had already rehearsed in the Merc and kind of ran through the whole show in the Merc and knew what we were doing in terms of spacing and all that. It was kind of more for us to get the lighting and all that right and down. So our solution to that was we basically had Jack do a one-man version of Spelling Bee pretty much, and play basically every other part that was not in the building during that specific rehearsal. So I just saw him doing like Magic Foot and playing Barfay, and just like I almost wanted to, like, from the back of the house, just like take a video and send it to Scotty.
I never knew this happened. Can I get a performance highlight right now? Live?
Yes. Yes, Jack. Okay, Jack, do your best impression of William Barfay. Yes.
Magic.
Yes,
That's
give
why
him
you're
the
getting
Tony.
your K.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Scotty, you've been ousted. It's been 1 year since the show, but Scotty, you're done.
But that's in my NYA award. Okay.
Does anyone else have any specific instances from those last couple days?
I personally never believe that a show is real until like it's happening. Like I'm always like, it can end. Like it's not gonna happen. And then when it was getting closer, I was like, oh my God, wait, I'm really about to do this again. Because first Spelling Bee was so draining on me. Like it's so like much like energy and exertion, and just like you're constantly thinking on your feet because there's so many opportunities for ad libs. And so it's like just it's so much. And I don't know, I was kind of nervous because I was like, oh, at MIT, people, it was just like strangers. Like it's so much easier being weird for strangers than it is for people you know. And so yeah, I was kind of nervous. But then when it happened, I remember first show, first song, I messed up like choreo like off the bat, and I just started like dying in my head. And I was like, you know what? Who cares? Like just have fun. And then that's just when I tapped in, and it was just a good time.
Yeah, this was a really fun night. I kind of want to know, kind of moving on to our next question, what was everyone's like pre-show routine every day walking in? This has always fascinated me, just like actors in general, what they do before a performance. So let's start with Moana.
I was trying to think because I don't think I usually have pre-show rituals. I think we all did. I don't know if I made this up, but I think we all warmed up together. Did we? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We all warmed up together. So I was one. And actually, what was different from this show is usually I show up like 5 minutes before the show starts and in my pajamas, but this one I don't know, I probably still showed up 5 minutes before the show started, but I actually wore like normal clothes. So I guess that was a specific ritual for the show, being slightly less late and public, being able to look decent in public. So
How about Sarnaski's, Ava and Preston?
Do you want to go first?
There you go.
All right. Well, for me, the things that I remember the most before we started the show was getting my hair braided for my character, Marcy, doing the occasional stretches for my number because she drops down to the splits on one occasion, and warming up and just basically doing the stuff that you usually do before a show. I mean, nothing too out of the ordinary.
How about you, Preston?
Button. She hit the mute button by accident.
Sorry.
Okay. For me, it was. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I just really don't.
Your character just.
I walked in there. I was on my phone, and then when I was time to get ready, I got ready, and then I went back on my phone. That was a. I'm not.
Yeah, Mitch just kind of like vibes there for like a good majority of the show. But I mean, like watching Preston there just like looks so intimidating. Honestly, like with his like leather jacket on, and like I just want to say when he had a canteen prop on him, I wanted a flask so badly, but the city of Temecula told me no, which I mean was probably the right decision considering our audience. But that's one thing, like if I could go back and do the show again, or if I did the show again, that's what I want to do. That'll be the one thing I change. Everything else stays the same. Let's go to Jack Attack.
What I did is we already warmed up all together, right? So I just kept my script and went to a corner and I just covered the lines and I'm just like, okay, what is this? And it just did that the entirety of the time before we actually, went to the Merc.
And might I add, there were a few days where I walked in and I remember Jack is a part of it, but I don't know who else was a part of it. But some of y'all were playing tag or something.
I remember that.
a few times. And I walked in being like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. Tag, you're it.
I do remember the one time we were playing tag and you came into the room and you were like, hey, and we're like, whoa, and you said, who's it? And then you just started running around. I just remember in that moment, we're like, oh God, he's gonna yell at us. It was really fun. But to answer the question, I had a lot of layers on for my costume. So most of my time was spent putting on my toe socks and, and my suspenders and stuff. And then I had to keep going over the spelling of my words because my character has a lisp. So I would throw random T's into words that didn't exist, which was bad. But I think I spelled it right sometimes, which is good.
Silent T's. How about you, Emily?
I'd say it's about the same. It was like everyone would warm up together, but what I remember is like right before the show would start, when we would all be backstage waiting to make our entrances. I think I was the last one to enter, so everyone would like go off before me, but like when it was just them out there, we would all like dance or like do something stupid backstage while like everyone else was like doing whatever. And I think that's always like one of my favorite parts of the show is like right before you're about to go on and you're just like trying to be like stupid for no reason, just to get your energy up and like jump around and like get your adrenaline going and do stuff like that. That was always really fun.
Yeah. Let's do Drew and then Scotty.
So for this show, something that was unique to this one was I actually had gotten a job like 2 weeks before we opened. So on the days of our shows, I would have to work from like 6:30 a.m. until like right before, basically until like 11:30ish, and then I would race my little Nissan Sentra over to Old Town, and I would get there like literally probably sometimes like 15 minutes before we were supposed to be on stage, and I'd be like having to put my costume on and everything all quick, but you know, not too bad.
Scotty?
Yeah, I feel like I rarely showed up on time. Like I would just mosey on in, and then I would station next to Emily, and I would sit next to Emily. And then there was like the mirror, and I would kind of just start to like stare at myself and like try to like disassociate like somewhat from like who I was. So I just like be there like staring at myself in the mirror, and then also aggressively chugging water. I don't remember if we had water on stage. I remember at NYT we had water, but I don't remember if we did.
Scotty just taking the method actor approach and just like,
and then I would have to like pee like every 10 minutes, just like run to the bathroom, like I need to pee like now. And then tag was always good. So it was very much a mixture of like staring at myself. And like my body goes numb before performances. Like I literally, it's like I start to fall asleep. Like I'll literally just be staring and like I'll go numb, like start to fall asleep, and then I'm like, I'm ready. I'm in it. Like, let's go.
I remember on my favorite Scotty memory of that show is him on closing, which is actually it's at the end of the show on the DVD of the recorded version of the show. So at the end of the show, all the characters kind of have a little like where we are now monologues. And Scotty, his character being the winner of the spelling bee, he's the last one to speak. So he goes up to the mic and he does this whole monologue, and in the script it ends with, and he became incredibly handsome and got a PhD in the fields of psychiatry and podiatry, combined in the combined field of psychiatry, and then he was supposed to just walk back to his seat. And so actually, I feel like this will be much better to hear from Scotty.
I literally do not know what you're talking about at all. I have
It was
no
like he became in the fields of
the handsome bodybuilder line.
Oh, I screamed into the mic.
Yeah, you changed the lines where it said, and Barfay became a handsome bodybuilder.
Yeah, you're right. I did a lot of like, yeah. I give him a show.
And then when you said psychiatry, you just screamed your lungs out into the microphone.
That's what it looked like.
And he said, psychiatry! And then as you're walking back to your seat, you just get the loudest grunt of all time. Just like, ugh! And I was watching the show like last week, and I was done after that part. I was like, I couldn't contain myself after that. Yeah. So after we kind of did the whole show and after the magical experience that was this production, what was everyone's sort of favorite memory throughout this whole production, or just like something they walked away with through the process? I'm sure everyone learned nothing and that they hated each other. So let's just get it out of the way.
I'll just go. My favorite thing about this entire process overall was getting to meet, like, obviously everyone that I had already known before this, because, you know, even till this day, I'm still working with Bohemian Arts and everything. And I would never would have had that opportunity if it wasn't for this show and getting to know Sean and Danny and Jill and everyone. It was just such an awesome experience for me.
Let's give it to Scotty.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, like meeting everyone. It was so much fun, and getting to spend more time with people that I already knew. Like, it didn't really feel like a show. It just felt like a hangout sesh. Just a sesh. Anyways. And then also I just feel like it solidified like more confidence in myself and more trust in myself as a performer, which is always good. And I felt like I was really given the space to do what I wanted. And if it was like too much, it'd be too much. But I can't believe I like screamed. That was probably too much, but it was, you know what? I had the space. It was a safe space for me to try it. So that's all that matters.
Was that part of you just like blacking out and just like staring yourself in the mirror for hours and hours
like,
on end? Just like,
I could honestly, like there's parts of the show that I remember, and then there's things that I could like not like that never happened. Like if you had not told me that I screamed into the microphone, and if it was not on video, I'd be like, that never happened. I have like no record of ever doing that.
How about we go to Helena?
I think something I walked away with was I don't know if it was my first. I've only done like 2 or 3 comedic roles. I guess this is one of the like more main parts that was comedic. So it definitely built some confidence that I can be silly sometimes. And I feel like it helped all of us, I guess with improv, and we all had to like be aware of where we were in the show and what was going on at like all times, which I think helped me as a performer.
All right. How about Moana?
I pretty much agree with what everybody else had said too. And kind of to stem back to what I said in the first question was just like getting the opportunity to play this character, because it's not a character that I had ever played before, or I didn't even think I would necessarily get the opportunity to play. Like in terms of like just the character itself, and even like the type of singing it is. And it was like one of my first shows where I actually had like, my own like song, and I like had more than 2 lines. So I don't know, it definitely like boosted my confidence, half and half, but like it definitely like, I don't know, it showed me what was possible in the realm of opportunities out there, which I appreciate you guys for giving me.
We'll appreciate having you in the show. How about we go to Ava and Preston, and then we'll go to Emily.
Alrighty. Well, for me, I think some of the best memories that I made while participating in this show was just simply seeing everything come together, like very similarly to what everybody else is saying, but just feeling it all come together and like just presenting it to an audience every night. It was so wonderful. And there was just this prominent level of compassion between everybody. And I just really am grateful for the opportunity and to have partaken in the show with everybody. It's very near and dear to my heart.
Preston?
I think one of my memories was probably still everybody finding out that I was 14. It's still surprising to me.
Believe it or not, Preston is actually from Idaho, and we just flew him out specifically for the show and for this interview. He's actually like 26.
No.
He's like, oh, and then he just leaves.
They know.
They're on to you.
Oh no, the police. They're not taking me alive. All right, how about we jump to Emily?
I feel like this show as a whole was just like, to put it under a blanket term, it was just like organized chaos, because it was like absolute, like the most fun chaos ever when we were all just hanging out and like goofing around and doing whatever. But then the show itself is also like literal chaos. It was always changing with the new people that were on stage and the new little jokes that would be added and the little ad-lib pieces. And so I feel like it was like something new was always happening, and yet all like the harmonies of the songs were always so set in stone, and the choreography was so like set in stone. So it was just like everything came together so well that it just worked. We all fit together. It was a really great time. Is honestly one of like the most fun it has been the most fun I've ever done. Doing a show. Yep, you know.
No, I'm about to cry. Let's give a cameo appearance to Jack's dog. What did you think, dog? What did you think, doggy? Oh, he left. We can't hear you, Jack. Oh no, I think we lost Jack. We can still see you, man. Oh no! Well, how about we just move on? Actually, I have just to say something real quick about the show while Jack fixes his microphone.
Hello?
There we go. There he
Hey!
is. But just from what I walked away with the show, you know, it really did mean a lot to me. Especially because it was a literal year in the making. I think opening night of our production was like on the exact 1 year mark since we opened at Moonlight Youth Theater. So it was something that, you know, myself and my family put a lot of like hard blood, sweat, tears, and money on. But I was very proud of how it turned out. Like, honestly, oh my God, I love all of you guys, both individually and just as a whole and as a family yourselves. And I just can't thank you guys enough for coming on this absolutely insane idea I had at 14 years old in what seems like 20 years ago in 2019. Yeah, and to kind of add something a little bit funny onto that, I want to give my favorite Drew memory here that I think about it today and I can't help but smile. And honestly, this was the highlight of the tech process for me, just with all the stress that comes with tech, and especially being a first-time director and just having to keep an eye on so many things at once. This is kind of thing that sort of like, it kind of felt like it grounded me a bit in a way. Kind of was just like the thing I could think back on, or just thing I could think about and be like, okay, we're still having fun. We're still able to laugh. It's all good. It was during a song or during like a little musical moment in the show called the spelling montage, where I think it was like Scotty, Helena, Ava, and Emily and Jack's characters would basically be spelling really fast, and it would like build up in speed and then go down in speed to the point where they were like in slow motion. And during the slow motion section, during like we were like just running through act 2 with no costumes or anything, just to check the lights, and we were doing spelling montage. Everyone's in slow motion. Like I think last thing I saw was like Emily is just like running super slowly, and Drew, like with no one's knowledge, not even the people on stage, because there is a running joke of Panch's character Panch just being super obsessed with Moana's character Rona and just having a weird romantic infatuation with her. He popped out a recyclable digital camera and just took a picture of her, and it gave out this little flash while everyone's in slow motion. And we had to stop the run just to like take a moment to appreciate that. And I wish we still had that camera.
I'm sure I probably do somewhere. I need to find it. I remember I was literally just at like CVS or something, like getting water before rehearsal, and I saw it and I was like, I need that.
There's going to be a ton of pictures of me caught off guard.
I bet you I can find it. I'm sure I can. I should get them developed now.
Yeah.
I'll anonymously send them to everyone. Like, you have no idea where they're coming from.
I feel like the only pictures
They'll be sent by mail.
Caught off guard in. That was bad.
They'll be sent by physical mail, and they'll just be like a little note from Drew on the back, but it won't be Drew. It'll be like question mark, like from question mark. Yeah. And so to kind of cap off this whole thing, just some easy, you know, what's everyone up to? And I know it's been a year. It's October 2020 as of recording this. So it's about a year and a half actually since we did the show. Yikes. What's everyone up to? Starting with Moana.
Well, right now I'm just sitting at the dinner table. I'm in North Carolina because my school's online, or I chose to do school online, but I don't know, because I know we had that little interview like after the last show, I think it was like that questionnaire, like the Q&A with the cast, and I remember I was saying I was trying to go to school for forensic sciences and cultural anthropology, but now I'm going to school for forensic sciences and cultural anthropology. I'm a sophomore, junior thingy at Penn State, And I'm still trying to do theater. It's a little hard in the current climate, but yeah, I'm just trying to make it through.
Right, let's popcorn over to Jack.
Well, you already know that I did Charlie Brown with you, still with Bohemian Arts, so that was fun. And geez, I can't believe that it's already been like 2 years since when we actually started the show. That's crazy. So I was in 6th grade at the start, and then now I'm in 8th grade, so that's fun.
You were in 6th grade at the start of Spelling Bee?
Yeah, it was
Oh
the
my
summer of 6th grade.
God.
Yeah, I was in 6th grade.
Oh my
And
God,
then
you were like an actual baby. Like I knew you were the youngest person in the cast, but like that just hit me in a new way.
Moana was going into college, and I'm going into 7th grade.
And not that big of a difference. Like
Mhm.
sophomore in college and 7th grade. I mean, is there really any difference?
Mm-mm.
No. What about you, Helena?
Well, currently nothing because they're in a pandemic. But before all that, I think, I can't even remember the timeline. I know we did Hunchback and then Hunchback got canceled. Me and Moana auditioned and got called back for Dear Evan Hansen, but the world is on fire. So probably nothing exciting coming from that anytime soon. I think that's it. I would love to get back into doing theater when it's safe.
Yeah. What about you guys, Preston, Ava?
For me, mostly taking online classes with MSJC. I've been trying to spend more time towards releasing music and singles, and just trying to sing more often because theater is out of the question right now. And it's been wonderful, but mostly staying home to keep everybody safe. And what about you, dude?
Staying home, playing guitar, doing hockey, staying home.
Staying home.
Yeah, I'm staying home. How'd you know?
Lost track of time. But yeah,
Where are we at?
we're in the future.
Let's do Scotty and then Drew and then Emily.
I got hired to be a model, as you can tell.
Oy. He's actually the handsome bodybuilder that he described in the show. He actually became
in my first time from being beautiful. I went onto Shark Tank and I got my pitch accepted. It's called Gillette. It's this cream that you like put on your face and then you like take this thing called the Razo.
Can I please get an autograph?
This is
Okay, anyway.
It's totally not a joke. It's totally real.
It's totally real. I'm a millionaire. Anyways, sadly, that's not true. Anyways,
We're shocked.
I graduated high school. That was exciting. I senior directed a play, and now I took a hop, skip, and a jump across the country. I'm living in Boston, Massachusetts, and I go to Emerson College, and I'm studying comedic farts. And yep, I'm going to be in debt, but that is fine. I am not staying home because the pandemic isn't real, and it doesn't affect me because I'm so hot and rich.
Ooh,
I thought we all agreed to keep this PG-13, Scotty. Jeez.
What did I say? That was inappropriate.
He said that he was beautiful, Jack.
Is that inappropriate, Jack?
Yes.
I can't have self-confidence? Huh?
Yes.
Whatever, I'm out of here.
What about you, Drew? Oh my God, he actually left.
No, he actually left.
And that's Scotty Herrera, folks. What about you, Drew? What you been up to?
Since Spelling Bee ended, I graduated high school shortly right after the show ended, like a month after. And then I started at MSJC, where I've been for the last year and a half, and I will be done in the spring. I am currently pursuing my degree in English with the hopes of becoming an English teacher. Love to see it.
What do you do with a BA in English?
You teach.
Yes.
And then in what month was that? I think February, I auditioned for a production of Pride and Prejudice, which was my first theatrical thing since Spelling Bee. And I was cast, and we got pretty deep into the rehearsal process, like well over halfway. We were about to start full runs. And it sadly was canceled, although it was a great experience because I had never done any sort of like period piece. And so that alone, I didn't even expect it to be as hard as it was, but I was really getting it down before it was canceled. So
Who are you playing?
I was playing George Wickham.
Ooh, neat.
Yeah, it was really fun. So
Also, I heard you joined a new organization since this little tiny little group that you joined recently.
Yes.
Mind telling us a bit about that?
I have been working with Bohemian Arts as a part of their board for the past, like since Spelling Bee ended, basically a couple months after. And that has been such an amazing experience, getting to see what it's like building something like from its early stages into like already where we are and like how far we plan on going. Like it's just so awesome to see the developmental process of it. And I cannot wait to keep on working with us and see what we can do.
Yeah, Drew's been such an amazing asset. We don't know much about social media technology, even me being a young person. Drew's kind of been the guiding light in showing us how everything works. Like, I'm probably gonna have to end up texting him about how to even put this on the internet. That sounds like a joke, but it probably isn't. Yeah. So I'm very glad you're on with us, Drew.
Thank you.
I'll talk a little more about how this production means to me after Emily speaks, and also after I let Scotty in, who has decided to join back with us. Let's all boo him when he joins. Boo!
Love you.
Out of here! Leave again!
Shut up.
I saw that you were in, but I decided to just keep you out of the room for a bit.
I was reading the Communist Manifesto.
Ooh.
You wish I was
Fake
joking.
News, fake news. Show us.
What about you, Emily? What you been up to since Spelling Bee?
Well, since it was a year and a half ago, a lot has happened, but oh my god, he's actually reading.
He's actually reading.
The comments. Okay, anyways. Yeah, I mean, since then we graduated from high school, kind of weird transition. I don't want to be like a bummer or anything, but ever since quarantine started, I had this like weird medical thing happen and I had to like drop everything. And so I haven't really been doing any sort of performing arts for the past like 8 months now. And I am eager to restart, but I'm studying online at UC Berkeley right now. I'm trying to decide whether or not to continue pursuing theater. I want to try and double major in it or minor or do something because I don't want to lose it, but I don't know what else to do. I'm like real struggling right now. So yeah, just kind of going with the flow and staying at home and hanging out. So
Yeah, well, you all are like amazing performers and amazing human beings. Just to I kind of touched on this earlier, but to me, this show, it's been, this is really hard to kind of put into words, because this show kind of was not even just a year into the making. It was pretty much my entire life in the making, because Bohemian Arts kind of came as a product of myself growing as a creator and kind of having this dream my whole life to tell stories in any kinds of mediums, in theater, in film, in whatever. And especially starting a theater company specifically, which is what Bohemian Arts started as, which of course has grown into this sort of more all kinds of art-oriented organization. It really showed us like that we can do this, and just thank you guys for being our like little guinea pigs for this thing that we started, and hopefully we'll continue to grow and do live performances and do all kinds of things once it's safe to do so after this pandemic rolls over. So I just want to thank you guys as we wrap this up for being a part of this, for clearing your schedules to do this. Can you tell our audience about where they can find you on social media or anywhere? Whoever wants to start and just popcorn it to someone.
I'm on social media at Jeff Bezos.
Scotty's the
That is
CEO of
fake.
Amazon.
You're not official. You're fake.
Right
You're
now,
fake.
my social media handle is Scott Wheels, subject to change. The O is a 0, the S is a Z.
Ooh, Z like extreme.
Sure.
Do you want to popcorn it to someone?
Pop to Miss Emily N.
Sorry, my laptop took a call. I don't go on social media very often, but it's Emily_Nightingale_, and I don't go on it, so don't expect to see anything from me. Thank you.
You want to popcorn it over to someone?
Jack.
I only have Instagram. That's it. If you want, if you want the specifics, it's Jackie Boy. There's a period in the middle. There's 2 Y's and 3 E's.
That's my favorite thing about social media handles is just like the amount of exclamation points and commas and dots and underscores and Batman symbols and all kinds of things in there. You want popcorn over to someone, Jack?
Helena, go.
So I don't really post on social media anymore, but I think I don't know what my Snapchat is, but add me on Snap. But my Twitter and Instagram are _Helena Marie. And then I won't commit to it, but I might start posting singing videos somewhere, but I don't know where yet. Stay tuned.
You definitely should. Let's bring it over to Drew.
Like Emily and Helena, I do have Instagram. Don't post on it, but until I go off the grid, you guys can find me at Drew__Robinson. My last post was from August 2019, so it's been a while, but go look at my past self before it's gone.
Let's bring it over to Moana and then Sarnowski's.
My Instagram and MySpace is moana.k. And then I'm sure if you type in my name anywhere else, you can probably find it there too. So
everyone Google Moana Poyer, and then if you see something that says Mariah Carey, that's her. That's her.
Google it. There's a lot of videos of me singing when I was a kid. I was tone deaf. Don't do that. Just stay off the internet.
Scotty just typed in the chat, Moana, ain't you that girl from the Disney movie? Guys, believe it or not, that's actually her. Yeah, Sarnowski's. Where can people find you?
Well, given quarantine, I've been having a lot of time to start working on my website and all the things that you can find me on different platforms. I have Ava Sarnowski. I have Facebook. I have all these things. You can probably find me if you just look up my name. But yeah, basically it.
And Preston, can anyone find you anywhere?
No, not really. No, I got nothing.
All right. Well, you can follow us here at Bohemian Arts on Facebook at Bohemian Arts, on Instagram at BohemianArts.org, and I think that's all of our social media sites, if I'm correct. And you can also you can subscribe to us on our Bohemian Arts YouTube channel, which we'll be posting on a lot more frequently. And this video is also probably going to go on too, now that I think about it. So I just want to say thank you to Emily Nightingale, Ava Sarnowski, and Preston Sarnowski, Moana Poyer, Jack Schwenk, Helena Underwood, Drew Robinson, and Scotty Herrera. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Smell you later.
That's so rude.